Alright. Jerry's Nugget Rose Playing Cards Edition. Don't even know what I'm saying. Yeah. I made like a whole like a whole set of content with these cards like three months ago actually, for the release of these cards by Riffle Shuffle, and I took photos, I made like a stop motion ad, and I made a cardistry video, and so I'm just gonna kind of break down what I did to make all that content and the little things I was thinking about. So that's that. Okay, so with the photos, I first took some simple product shots, different angles of the deck and the box in cool angles. I already said that, whatever. One shot was this one. I had like the cards like all strewn around on the bottom, and then like a little packet of cards to show the back design. A little bit elevated so there was depth to the photo, and that made this packet sharp but the background kind of blurry. And so what you want to do is, a lot of photos, is create depth, and that helps to enhance your photos and like have like a foreground and a background, and it makes it very depthy, whatever. And then on to the kind of like Photoshop-y pictures. One idea I had was like a floating object, so either like a floating box or a floating deck of cards. And so one way I could have done that is take my box and put it on a stand, this phone stand, right? And I put it on the stand, and then you take a picture like this, and then you take a picture of the empty background, and then in Photoshop you cut out the stand and it looks like the box is just floating. So that's one way I did it, but the problem was that since the stand was here, it was covering the natural shadow that the box would create. So I would, when I cut out the stand, there was no shadow, so I had to recreate that whole shadow in Photoshop, which is not fun. I mean, with my experience, it's kind of easy to do, but it takes time. And so the second way of having an object float is just taking string. So I hung it, so I wanted the box to be kind of like floating at an angle, so I took string at each of these corners of the box and I hung them to the ceiling. In Photoshop, you take a picture like this, and I take a picture again of the empty background, and you just cut out the string. So that's much easier to do, and it keeps a natural shadow of the box. So that's the way I would recommend doing it if you were to do something like that. Much easier to set up with the string, but the trade-off is that it takes more time to set up because you have to take all the string, you have to cut it, get the right lengths and everything. But I'd say it's worth the time. And then the like hero shot, I would say, is same premise. It's having the box open and then the cards like falling out, but they're like floating. And so with the box part of the photo, it's the same idea with the like the floating objects with the string. So you just take the box, hang it on a string, and then cut the string out in Photoshop, so the box is just floating. And then with the cards, you can't like hang the cards, a whole deck with string, and if you put it on the stand, it doesn't really work. So what kind of does, but it doesn't really work. So what I did was I had just the cards like on the table, and then I took a picture with different angles just so I can cut it out later in Photoshop and then manipulate it. So that way I did have to fake a shadow for the cards because the box shadow was there, but if the card shadow wasn't there, so that wouldn't make any sense, so I had to add the card shadow. And that's basically what I did to make that photo. So the second thing is the stop motion ad kind of thing I made. And so the first thing I would talk about is the stop motion. And so it's pretty basic shooting it. There's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube and everything. But basically you have the camera just still, and you just take a bunch of photos, incrementally moving the thing each time, so that when you play it together in a series, it looks like it's actually moving without having a hand to move it or something like that. So that was basically pretty easy. My setup was basically I had kind of like a low shelf thing, and so I put my camera on the tripod and just like hung it there, and it kind of worked. And I had like a white foam core on the ground as like a background, and I taped it to the ground so it wouldn't move. That's very important. You don't want your background to move or else you can tell. Anyway, and then I had like my photography light, kind of like 45-degree angle to the side, shining down really close, so I got a lot of light and it was nice and bright because that was the kind of vibe I wanted for the video. And then I had like another white foam cord that's like a bounce to bounce light back in, so it wasn't too dramatic. So there's a lot of light coming from all sides of the setup, and that was basically the setup. It's not that difficult. And then after in editing, I added just basic color adjustment to the pictures, and then I put them together all in a sequence in editing, in the video editing. Another part of the like stop motion ad, I shouldn't say stop motion ad because like half of it's stop motion and half of it's normal camera movements, but what I did was I made like slow, smooth movements with the camera, just showing out the deck and the back design and stuff like that. And what I did was I used foreground to enhance the motion. So like having, let's say I'm filming with my phone and I'm having the deck, I don't want to just like get a basic shot. What I can do is have foreground, right? So then there's like my water bottle is blurry in the foreground, and so it creates this sort of depth. Same thing with photos that I did before, and so it helps to enhance the movement. Since I'm slowing it down into slow motion, it looks much slower. But if you add the foreground moves much faster because of just the way cameras work, I guess, and depth. So that helps to enhance the motion and show it off a little bit more. And then for like my favorite shot maybe of the whole ad was the shot of the box spinning by itself, and you might not have caught that if you just watched it like normally, but I really like it. And so what I did was I first actually tried to spin the box like this, but that obviously didn't work and it was a little bit too fast. And so what I did was I attached another string just to this corner of the box and attached it to the ceiling, and I had the length of the string so that the box would like touch the table, or touch the table, but like barely touch the table. So when I spin it, it just spins freely, and that's how I made the box spin. And then same thing with the photos. I filmed that box clip, and then I filmed the clip of the background with nothing in it, and then I just cut that out in editing, and it was pretty easy. And that's basically it for the stop motion ad. Last part is the Cardistry video I made, and so this is a little bit simpler than the stop motion ad in terms of filming and editing, and editing is kind of the same in terms of work ethic, but with the Cardistry part of the Cardistry video, what I did first was practice the Cardistry moves. So before I filmed, I practiced all the moves I planned out that I was going to film in the video, and just practiced them for an hour, just watching YouTube and mindlessly shuffling cards. And so that helped to get my hands warmed up. It's kind of like sports, right? You warm up before a race, you warm up before a basketball game or whatever. So that's the same thing I do with my Cardistry. I practice the moves before I film them. And that also helps to save time while I'm filming, so I don't have to do as many takes, because I mess up and stuff. And so when I film the Cardistry, I do like multiple angles and multiple like focal lengths, so like zoomed in, zoomed out. And so what I usually do is I have like a normal shot, like a medium angle of the move, and then I have like a close-up zoomed in view, and then I have the super wide view, so I can interchange between those according to the beat of the music. Like based on move to move, I do particular angles that look good for the move. So let's say there's a move that looks good top down, I'll have the camera really high and look down. Let's say there's an angle that for a move that looks really good from the side, I'll film it from the side. So it just all most of the time it varies based on the move, but I always do like a normal wide and a tight shot for filming Cardistry moves, so I have that flexibility when I'm editing. Specifically for this video, I had the idea of just having the cards hanging from the ceiling, and so what I did is the same thing with the Photoshop and the ad. What I did was I took a string, I attached it to the ceiling, and I taped it to the back or face of the card, and then just hung it there And so when I was filming some extra shots, you just spin the card and it like floats. I mean, it doesn't float, you can see the string, but it looks really nice. It adds a good effect. That's basically it. And with the dropping cards, you can see in the end of the video, I have the deck and I like drop it out of frame. And then you can also see another part where I like spring the cards at the camera. And obviously the cards are gonna end up on the floor. So what I do to prevent them from denting or getting folded or whatever is I have like a mat or blanket or a beanbag. This beanbag actually. And what I do is I have that on the ground. And so when I toss a deck or something, it'll land on that beanbag and it won't dent the cards. And so that's basically it for the way I film my videos and my pictures. It's a little bit of a view into my thought process and what I think about when I'm making these videos. And one big part, or one big factor, I'd say, when I'm making videos is music. That really shapes the way the video looks. Ironically, the sound shapes the way the video looks, but that really like sets the tone and the speed of the video. I guess I could make a whole video about that too. Maybe I will. Alright, that's it. Bye. And now I'm gonna go edit this video. Alright, bye.